The spooky sensation Alone in the Dark is making its grand return with a chilling new reboot. But what can players expect to find lurking in the shadows this time around? With some of the info coming directly from THQ Nordic themselves, here are all the questions you have about the game answered. Let's start with the obvious one, Bex. What is Alone in the Dark?
Originally released in 1992, Alone in the Dark is pretty much the granddaddy of survival horror games. It brought players to a spooky mansion in Louisiana where they would have to solve puzzles and battle ghouls while trying to make it out alive. And this classic horror title is now born anew and coming to Xbox Series X, Series S and PC, giving a whole new generation of players the chance to explore Deserto Manor. Is it a direct remake?
Well, the new 2023 game will be a reimagining, which stays true to the spirit and story of the original, but also updates it in a number of really important ways. You can expect fully modernized controls, smoother item handling, and overall a longer and richer experience than was found in the original, which could actually be completed in about 2 hours. 2 wonderful, terrifying hours, but still pretty short. The new game also switches to an over-the-shoulder camera instead of the original's fixed angles, because while they did provide some moments of incredible tension, they could also be really annoying. Who is making it?
The new Alone in the Dark will be handled by Pieces Interactive and is being directed by Mikael Hedberg. Given that he previously worked on petrifying titles like Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Soma, it feels like we're in good hands. What sort of game is it?
The guys over at THQ described the original Alone in the Dark as a haunted house experience, giving players the chance to explore a creepy mansion and slowly uncover the plot of the game. But since you're not the only one wandering about in those dusty halls, you can also expect plenty of action. The new game promises a roughly even split between combat, exploration, and puzzle solving. But if you're more interested in the blood-curdling parts than the brain-tickling ones, there will be a hint system that allows you to blast your way through the puzzles way more quickly. So basically, Alone in the Dark will be whatever sort of horror game you want it to be. And remember, if you want to hear all the latest about Alone in the Dark and all the other amazing horror titles heading to Xbox, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. Anyway, who do you play as?
Alone in the Dark lets players choose between 2 protagonists. Edward is a hired detective who sees this case as just another job, only slowly learning how connected he is to the mystery of Deserto. Then there's Emily, who's more personally invested in the case from the off as she searches for her missing uncle and for a cure to a mysterious affliction called the Heartwood Curse. THQ have said that the player will get to see exclusive levels and parts of the mansion depending on your chosen protagonist, so it's a great incentive to play through the game more than once. If you go for a second playthrough with the other characters, there will be slight influences in your game depending on which items you found in your first playthrough. And according to Mikael Hedberg, the story plays out differently and enhances different emotional beats depending on which character you choose to play as. So it's almost like you'll be getting 2 games for the price of 1. Who plays the main characters?
Do Emily and Edward look a little familiar? Well, that's probably because they're being played by Killing Eve star Jodie Comer and Stranger Things Hopper himself, David Harbour. The actors provided their voices and likeness for the lead characters, but also delivered motion capture performances to make them feel even more realistic. So, expect some real movie-style magic in this one. What happens to the character you don't pick?
If you just can't choose between our pair of plucky protagonists, then don't worry because the one you don't pick will still crop up throughout the story as they carry out their own investigation. However, it's worth noting that you will always be playing as the character you choose at the beginning, with the other one sticking to a purely supporting role. Will there be any new twists to the story?
THQ have promised that Alone in the Dark will feature a unique story that takes the original's premise to all new places. So, if you are a die-hard fan of the 1992 game, you can expect plenty of hints and references, along with loads of surprises, while newcomers will be able to just dive straight in without knowing anything about the original. The original story was largely about fate and whether we have full control of our lives or are destined to repeat the past. The new one also promises to use this theme as a way to offer some postmodern reflections on the nature of remakes, which sounds pretty clever, doesn't it? Why is the soundtrack so jazzy?
The new game features a brassy soundtrack created by Arnie Berger-Zoga, based on songs composed by Doom jazz legend Jason Conan. That sounds more like what you'd expect from a noir film than the eerie ambient sounds we're used to in horror games. However, THQ are confident that this unique choice works really well as horror soundtrack, building up tension and a foreboding dark feeling, while also releasing tension as sudden stingers come in. Also, it just sounds really cool. Henry, when can I play it?
The full game is headed to Xbox Series X and S consoles on the 25th of October this year. But if you don't feel like waiting, don't despair, because the game's playable prologue, which was shown off earlier this year at PAX, is available for both Xbox Series X and S right now, completely free of charge. Cheeky. You'll be playing as a child during this prologue, so don't expect any ghoul blasting action just yet, but according to THQ, this linear section will give you a first glimpse into the story and atmosphere of the game, as well as a couple of light puzzles to solve. So, if you can put your endless thirst for violence to the side for a moment, it's well worth checking out. So, what say you gamers? Do you feel sufficiently prepared to spend some more time alone in the dark? Hit the comments and let us know. Bye!